Okay.
Okay. Um, Hi, Assalamualaikum. We are from Group Rose, and today we will present task 4 about hazard analysis principle 1. First of all, my name is Amira binti Ramli and my partner is Nur Azia binti Azmi. Okay, we choose the Apple surrounding premium as our product to do the hazard analysis. The purpose of hazard analysis is to develop a list of hazards which are such significance that they are reasonably likely to cause injury or illness if not effectively controlled. Only those hazards that pose significant risk to the health of consumers should be included in the hazard plan. And I will present the hazard analysis of materials and packaging. Okay, for the first raw material, which is meat, the potential hazard is divided into three, which is biological, chemical, and physical. The justification for inclusion or exclusion, the occurrence of pathogen varies greatly. On the hair, feathers, skin, and intestinal tract of animal, cross-contamination also occur during slaughtering and processing. And then the cuts of meat also can be contaminated by equipment that has not been properly cleaned and sanitized. Pathogens have been associated with outbreak of foodborne illness from undercooked meat. For the severity is 4, the likelihood of occurrence is 5, which means it is a significant hazard. What measure can be applied to control this significant hazard? Cooking, control fermentation and aging, chill storage, avoid recontamination. For the chemical, which is antibiotic and pesticide, the ingestion of veterinary drug residues in edible animal parts constitutes a potential health hazard for its consumer. The severity is 3. The likelihood of occurrence is 3, which means it is a significant hazard. What measure can be applied to control this significant hazard? Raw material specification, vendors certification or guarantees, spot check, verification, review purpose for use of chemical control, and control quantities to be added. For the physical, which is bone, plastic, and personal effect. The bone can be found in the meat. The plastic can be found in the packaging of the product, and other foreign material is from employee. This can cause cut, choking, infection, and trauma. The severity is 2. The likelihood of occurrence is 3. This it is the significant hazard. No. For the second raw material, which is spices, which is cumin, coriander, turmeric powder, chili paste. For the biological, the potential hazard is salmonella. Due to the long shelf life of spice meats and the fat salmonella can survive in right spices, it can cause salmonella outbreak and people sicken. The severity is 3. The likelihood of occurrence is 2. It is the significant hazard? No. For the chemical, which is pesticide, mycotoxin, and heavy metals. Improper use of pesticide will lead to an unacceptable level of residues. Improper drying of agricultural product will lead to mold growth and mycotoxin production. Aflatoxin and ochratoxin A are the most commonly found in mycotoxin. Uh, Most commonly found mycotoxin in spices. The presence of heavy metals such as lead, mercury, cadmium can give effect in human health and cause illnesses. For the severity is 3, likelihood of occurrence is 2, and it is the significant hazard? No. For the physical potential hazard is stone and plastic. The presence of stone and plastic can cause cuts and infection. The severity is 2, 2 and the likelihood of occurrence is 1. It is also not a significant hazard. Okay. For the last raw material of packaging, which is packaging, they use plastic packaging. So the potential hazard is only physical, which is plastic. It can cause choking, cuts, infection, and may need surgery to remove. The severity is 2. The likelihood of occurrence is 1, and it is the significant hazard? No. Uh, uh, I will explain what is a 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, it is 4 for severe, 3 is major illness, 2 is minor illness, and 1 is no illness. For the likelihood of occurrence, 5 it happen all the time, 4 is happened previously within the company, 3 is strong possibility of it happening, 2 no to have happening in the past, 1 is remotely possible. Then I will pass this presentation to Aziha.
I will present about the hazards analysis of processing step. The first processing step is receiving meat. And the potential hazards for receiving meat, there are three, which are biological hazards, chemical hazards, and physical hazards. For the biological hazards, the receiving meat are potentially to contaminated with E. coli, and the justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is for biological is fresh meat has a high water content that is favorable for the growth of microorganisms, and raw meat can become contaminated during the slaughter process. And the significant hazards were obtained by using hazards rating, which is severity times PF, which is probably frequency, and if the range marked between 8 to 15, it will indicate the significant hazards, and if the range between 1 to 6, it is a low risk, which shows not significant hazards. And as for biological hazards in receiving meat, it uh, indicates the significant hazards, and what measure can be applied to control these significant hazards is implementation of both pre-slaughtering and post-harvest measures. And next is chemical potential hazards, which is heavy metal, for example, lead, chromium, and mercury, which oftenly can be found in the raw meat. Just and the justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is the residue of these contaminants after ingestion by animal and had deposited in meat. And is this a significant hazard? And yes, it indicates the significant hazard because the range is at the higher risk. And what measure can be applied to control this significant hazard is the effective screening procedures by the suppliers. And next is physical potential hazard in receiving meats is glass. This physical hazard can occur during slaughtering of animals and supply chain. And is this a significant hazard? It occurs, the severity is 3, the for the probable frequency is 1, and the risk is 3, so it is not significant hazard. Next step is the storage of meat. The biological hazards is the contamination with Pseudomonas species. The justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard for this biological hazard is bacterial growth in meat during storage under aerobic conditions and in vacuum packs respectively. And is this a significant hazard? And yes, because it shows the high risk, which is the range is 15. And what measure can be applied to control this significant hazard is temperature control during storage. And next is a chemical hazard. Chemical hazard is not identified because it is not likely to occur in food premises. Next is physical hazard. Physical hazard is a needle. Needle also not likely to occur based on company history, suppliers, later occurrence, and no reported incidents of this hazard has occurred in the previous months or years. And the severity of the physical hazard, which is needles, is 3, and the probable frequency is 1, and the risk is 3. So it is shows the lower risk, and it is not a significant hazard. Next is the next process is cutting into small pieces. Biological hazard for this process is contamination with Salmonella species. Justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is in the kitchen, Salmonella may be transferred from raw to cooked food by hand, contact with kitchen surfaces and equipment. So as you can see, the risk of this hazard is the range is 12, which is the quite high risk, and it is indicate the significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control this significant hazard is hygienic requirement for food premises implemented by food handlers. And next is the chemical hazard. Chemical hazard in this process are not identified, which means that it is not likely to occur in food processing. And next is physical hazards. Physical hazards is jewelry, and the justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is contaminated during processing by food handlers which not practicing safety requirement during food processing. And the risk is the range of risk is 3, which is not likely to occur, and it is not significant hazard. And next processing step is cooking the meat until tenderized, and the biological hazard is the contaminated contamination with Clostridium perfringens, and the justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is pathogenic bacteria and spores are not readily destroyed by normal cooking temperature. Heat of cooking can rather activate and the spores to germinate and develop into vegetative cells which can multiply rapidly in foods that are placed at ambient temperature for a long period. And the risk shows that the higher risk, which is the serious one, and what measure can be applied to control this significant hazard is avoid stored food at room temperature for a long period. And next is the chemical potential hazard, which is not identified in this process because it's not likely to occur in the food premises and food processing. And next is physical hazard, which is shifted utensils or containers, and justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is the utensils used to cook the meat were broken and not carefully inspected. And the risk range is 12 and it is indicates the significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control the significant hazard is only use hygiene and safe utensils during cooking and always have a regular inspection. And next process step is shredding the meat into fine pieces. The biological hazards during this process is the contamination with lactobacillus species, and the justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is the dirty processing area and mix up of uncooked meat and cooked meat. And the range of the risk is 12, which each indicates the significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control this significant hazard is processing area always be cleaned after use. And next is chemical potential hazard, which is non-identified and because it is not likely to occur during the process. And next is physical potential hazard is human health. And the justification for this hazard is most probably contaminated during food handling by workers that not practicing hygiene requirements. And the risk of significant hazard shows that it is at the and it indicates the significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control the significant hazard is personal hygiene requirement practices by food handlers. And next process is mixing. During mixing, the biological potential hazards that can occur is the contamination with Salmonella species. The justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is temperature rise during grinding may cause temperature rise in product and increase bacteria. And the risk range is 12, which is shows the significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control the significant hazard is the supervision of temperature control during processing. And next is the chemical potential hazards, which is cleaners and sanitizers. And the justification for these hazards is not likely to occur based upon SOP records. And the risk range shows that it at the lower range, which is 3, and it shows no significant hazard. And for the physical hazard in this process is non-identified, which is not likely to occur. Next process is stir fry, and the biological hazard that occurs during the process is the contamination with Clostridium perfringens. And the pathogens, the justification for inclusion as a hazard is the pathogenic bacteria and spores are not readily destroyed by normal cooking temperature, and heat of cooking can rather activate the spores to germinate and develop into vegetative cells, which can multiply rapidly in food that are placed at ambient temperature for a long period. And the risk range shows at the 20, and it very serious, and it is shows a significant hazard, and what measures can be applied to control the significant hazard is avoid stored food at room temperature for a long period. Next is chemical potential hazard, which is not identified and not likely to occur in this process. Next is physical potential hazard, which is can be contaminated with stones. And justification for this exclusion hazard is the small stones contamination often occur during cooking due to improper washing and food preparation. And is this a significant hazard? And the risk shows the range at 8, and yes, it is the significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control the significant hazard is food hygiene practices during food processing. And next process is to keep the cooked meat at the room temperature. And the biological potential hazard for this process is the contamination with Staphylococcus aureus. And justification for inclusion as a hazard is bacteria grow rapidly in the range of temperature between 5 degrees and 60 degrees Celsius. And the risk range shows at the 12 at 12, and yes, it is the significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control the significant hazard is supervision of temperature control during storage of ready-to-eat food. And next is chemical hazard, which is non-identified and not likely to occur during this process. Next is physical potential hazard, which is dirt, and justification for exclusion as a hazard is dirt easily to contaminate through air due to unclean processing area, and the range of the risk shows at 12, and yes, it is indicate the significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control the significant hazard is processing area. Processing area is cleaned regularly. And next process is packaging. During packaging, the biological potential hazard that can occur is contaminated with Listeria monocytogenes. And justification for inclusion for this hazard is the contact with contaminated unprocessed raw materials and unclean surface of or people. And the risk range shows at 12, and it indicates a significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control this significant hazard is the clean processing area and good hygiene practices. And for the chemical hazards at this processing step is the plasticizers, and justification for exclusion as a hazard is it is toxicology. Its toxicology is generally well understood, but long-term impacts of low-level exposure are not well documented. And is this significant hazard? And yes, because the risk range shows at 8. And what can be applied to control this significant hazard is regular food safety inspection. Next is the physical potential hazard. In this process is the pieces of packaging. Justification for this hazard is this can happen due machinery and equipment that not functioning well. And is this in is this a significant hazard? And the risk range shows at the 3, and this is not significant hazard because it is not likely to occur in food premises. And the last process is the distribution. During distribution, the biological potential hazards that can occur is the contamination with Staphylococcus aureus, and the justification for inclusion as a hazard is growth of bacteria can happen during storage of distribution. And the risk range shows 12, which indicates a significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control this significant hazard is clean distribution facilities. And next is uh, chemical potential hazard, which is non-identified in this uh, in this process because it is not likely to occur during distribution. And physical potential hazard is the heat and cold stress. And the justification for inclusion or exclusion as a hazard is the storage condition during distribution process is not suitable. And is this a significant hazard? And the risk range shows at 9, and yes, it is significant hazard. And what measure can be applied to control this significant hazard is a supervision of temperature control during distribution. So that's all from us for hazard analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.